Good day, welcome. Today I want to start off with something that also inspired me, started this whole reflection. An observation from nature. There are these places, I don't know the example, but it came across somewhere in my feed, whatever. Some article about introducing wolves in certain areas, like forests or whatever, I guess. How that then over time seemed to have really restored that whole environment. Suddenly the river started flowing again. How, maybe to generalize this a bit, by introducing these certain key players, it can actually, by how they are then functioning within that environment, they can actually restore the balance to that environment. And that inspired me. It got me thinking, can we, or how can we move in a similar way, maybe become this kind of a key player and change our environment like that, bringing order to this jungle. In this imagery, it for me also connects a lot with a lion energy. Specifically, that seems to point to the energy of being sovereign. One who is sovereign, walking in that energy, truly being himself, his whole self, peaceful in that, how that can then actually shape or influence, bring order to the jungle. So let's reflect on this. Ask these deeper questions. What does that form actually look like? Maybe also how does that actually work? Maybe give some examples. I want to get to what comes up is independence, the sovereignty, a lion who knows themselves. Also, I'm connecting this lion energy. Thing is, I've seen myself really embody this, grown into this. This is same with all these things like sovereignty. Also, connecting my individuation process, properly integrating compassion towards the whole. All these things, finding my wholeness within the whole. But then from that point, being able to move through this world by just being our own selves while still being connected with the whole jungle, how this can actually, or has that effect of bringing order to the whole jungle. It is a whole process of becoming this form ourselves, and I don't feel like I want to go too much into that today. So, and more really just describe also what happens when we have achieved this form and when we then actually move through life with this form, and how that actually is maybe able to bring this order. A lot of it comes from how we consciously participate within our environment. How is the environment truly also shaped? It comes from all these dynamics of all these individuals. And this is bringing me to a good starting point, stable foundation from which we can build peace upon in this whole world, but also for ourselves. Something we may be all be able to agree upon as humans. So let's lay this out a bit here. Seeing this whole reality, the actual thing, it is something we are all sharing. We all are individuals. We can talk about humans, but yes, there is actually more life than just humans. We can expand this towards animals and other beings of life. But either way, maybe focusing on the human behavior for right now. We are a bunch of humans, all these individuals we are sharing a shared reality. I think we should be able to all agree upon that. But then seeing how each individual has their own perception, their own experience of this reality. The experience is also shaped by their beliefs, their perception, what they think and feel, how much can they see, how much can it all limits also how much they can interact with this. I'm pointing here also at like there is this true reality, even though we may not even be able to see that thing, but at least we should be able to see that we are all here having an experience and we are sharing a certain space, we are sharing a reality. How we see that space and what we should do with it, we can have different beliefs on that, but at least let us, from this common ground, let us agree that we are all here and we're sharing a space with together. And from there, I feel like maybe we can find a way in which we can actually have a more pleasant experience in this shared reality for all of us. Also, I find that this is a good space to begin with, and I would like to add to this that all these individuals deserve and should be respected. All seeing they all have their own unique essence, whether they're living and connecting with it, connecting with their soul, living with it, they all have their own experience, and we should respect that. Respect, and from the same way also towards myself, respect that I am also having my experience. I'm also having my own field, my own beliefs, my own. But this starts to create a mutual common ground from which we can. I'm connecting this also with a human way of getting along with each other. We don't have to agree on everything. We don't have to believe the same things. We don't have to think the same things, but let's give each other the space to experience their own experience, each other respecting that thing. Because then I'm now connecting this. Let's say with an example, me being more in that sovereign lion. The thing is, I have gone through this process. I have gone through deeply questioning my beliefs, my values. From that, building up myself. I'm also seeing this as actually in like my own energy field. I'm strong within my own field. I know myself instead of letting it be influenced by my own environment, um, by what other people say and things like that. Because I want to get to this example where an interaction with you meet someone or someone comes across your path. Let's firstly recognize I have my own experience of reality, my own beliefs. You can see it as my own bubble. They have their own bubble. And in some way, both bubbles, like, or we have to respect from each other. We have our own experience, we have our own bubble. But what often happens is these people, they may start talking to me, sure, like you're not necessarily harming me. That's also my energy. I'm not letting that actually harm me, whatever you say. Not everyone has that, but what I want to get to is people within their bubble, within their belief system, within their reality or their bubble of reality, their own experience of reality, they may project expectations onto others. Someone starts to have a talk with me, let's recognize I am a sovereign being. I can choose myself whether I actually want to participate in this or not. Not everyone realizes that. You have to question these beliefs, like, is it respectful to. It's like, also notice I'm not necessarily ignoring this other person. I hear what you say, I can feel the energy of it. And from that, I can then independently, sovereignly choose and decide, do I want to interact with this or not? This is not ignoring, this is consciously choosing whether I participate or not. This is already shaping the field in a different way. Am I? It also has that feeling of, because how I was thinking of this earlier as well. Sometimes people have all these expectations about other people. It's like they're living inside of their own play and they have written a script for other people, and then they may project that onto you. Now let's reflect back on myself. An earlier, younger version of myself was much less sovereign. I was much more always shrinking myself, pleasing these other people. I could feel what they want me to say. And so I would just play along with them. Not saying this is wrong, but trying to point at what are we doing here. Firstly, also, if I was playing along with their script, actually I was often just betraying myself as well. Doesn't necessarily have to be. You can be in alignment with yourself while you're doing that, but at the time, often I was shrinking myself, stepping away from myself. Oh, I'll just do what you want me to do and move along. Also, often coming from I don't want to disturb the peace, I don't want to upset these people, things like that. But now, as a having grown in my own power, in my own sovereignty, it's like I can consciously choose to go along or not. Stay in my peace. I will protect my own peace above all. Is this betraying myself? Because sometimes people have beliefs that I really don't agree with myself, and then it's notice it's also still like I respect your beliefs, and you can have your beliefs, and I can have mine, and I can disagree with your beliefs. And to me, I'm still peaceful. I'm still loving you with your own experience. Go and have your experience. But at the same time, self respect. Don't try to push me into your reality if I don't want to be in that. Then you're taking away my freedom. And people often can do that with their projections. And so, what is also required to do this is this what is part of this whole healing process is to develop this by knowing also our own self, our own energy, our own power, this discernment of this discernment which actually it makes it much more visible today for me when people are projecting a certain reality or like that sort of passive aggressiveness of trying to get me to do something or what And then also at the same time, just also here I'm connecting this with this compassion, an earlier version of me. It's like I feel your discomfort, but now through a proper individuation, like I can recognize this is yours, and I'm fine with leaving that as yours. An earlier version of myself always wanted to resolve their discomfort because I was feeling it so much within myself. It was as if the only way I could find peace with them is to move along with their play. Now I want to get a bit deeper into this because let's look at the difference. When I move along with their play, I'm using my energy to sort of feed their reality. Their reality becomes more what seems to be the shared reality. Whereas as I see myself now actually walking, it's like I have my view of reality, these values, these visions of what I actually want to create, visions of unity, love, true connection, true peace. And it is through staying in that path that we're actually bringing more of this into the environment. And this has the effect that slowly over time, slowly could be like what is slowly really, but either way, over time, this can influence the environment more towards that, becoming this is this conscious participation. So when we move more from balance ourselves, more sovereignty ourselves, we start to bring those values in this world, and the environment changes much more to that. But there are some interesting things about this as well that I maybe want to touch on, how these dynamics often, or what does this actually often look like in practice. I want to maybe start with an example from my walk on yesterday. Also, I mentioned this in the video yesterday, but there was also this part in this field, the same field, at that experience. Then I was walking with my dog, and suddenly it's like I know the exit is there, want to walk straight to it. Suddenly I realized I'm in this field, there are this bunch of cows, also like really beefy, muscular cows, not necessarily knowing whether there is a bull there or something, but either way, they also noticed me from a distance and my dog. And some of them started to get up and look at us, and it was very much also like, you want beef? But I looked at them and like, no, I don't want your beef. You can chill there on the trees. But then this decision point, how am I going to move through this? What am I going to do? What is actually this movement of a sovereign being moving through the field of life? I also checked my environment, checked my own security. It's like because like I'm not sure what these cows are going to do. Not necessarily like I know my dog. If we get too close, my dog is going to get crazy, start barking like crazy, and this can also trigger the cows to get even really crazier. I'm also grounding myself a lot, like these bulls or like these cows, they have a lot more mass than me and don't necessarily want this conflict. So I check, okay, I can worst case scenario, I can just climb this fence of barbed wire. I can do this with my dog if really necessary, but it's like this is a bit of an inconvenience to myself. Don't necessarily have to do this either, but it's one option. But then thinking other pathways, checking myself, what am I afraid? It's like, no, I'm not necessarily afraid, but I also just acknowledge the situation. Don't think cows are necessarily so aggressive, but like they can do you do some damage to the human body, and it's like we can also avoid this. But it's interesting to look at this path as well, because I was imagining, let's just go straight right next to them, but it would be really close. Probably gonna be some kind of conflict. Definitely, my dog would also start to like try to get them to move using barks or something. But if this may also send them spiraling in actually becoming aggressive, needing to defend themselves. I was already picking up on that energy, like they were standing up and looking like, are you a problem to us? Do you want beef? Trying to move peacefully through this and then finding what is actually the peaceful way. I chose to walk, okay, I'm just gonna go a bit this way and then try to walk around them while still observing what are they doing. And as I was doing this, I was also checking like, am I running away from fear? Am I letting fear dominate my decisions? And no, that's not necessarily true here. There is, but it's interesting because when we see that reflection, we could think, I have to prove that I'm not afraid. I have to go and walk straight there. A younger version of me might have done that, needing to prove. But this is already actually putting us outside of that, or it's not necessary. Why do you actually need to prove this? Often it is to who even? To the cows? To the reality itself? I know I'm not afraid, but I'm like, just use your wisdom. What's wrong with it? Can be truly your own ego who is preventing you to just go around this obstacle, or who is making the problem here. Also, like respect that the cows, they were chilling there on the trees, and it's like you can stay there. Cows, like, just I don't want to disturb your peace. I respect you being there, sure, but let's within this mutual respect of we are sharing this shared space. Don't want peace. I mean, I don't want beef with you. I just want peace. You can have peace. I'll go this way. And I was observing them to go all the way. And as I was nearing the exit, they were actually also getting closer. And that's interesting because it gave me, or that perception of, are they going to corner me? Also thinking about this lion, it's like I can be a peaceful lion, but at the same time, always know your power. If you are cornered, people corner me, if reality corners me, I'm always still able to stand up. Same with in every point in this walk, me and my dog, we're ready to stand our ground. We're able to stand in our power. But what does that mean? We have to let wisdom also play a role in this, in our decision making. We have to choose our battles wisely, choose our hills to die on wisely. These are a bunch of cows in the fields, like not. But let's. I'm just using this example also to point out how an ego that is not properly balanced could create conflict here. Even this thing as well. I was starting to feel cornered. They didn't actually come close, but either way, let's imagine you're actually getting cornered. Even then, that doesn't always mean you have to show your claws as a lion. What I actually did there was just leave the playing field, leave that field. The exit was right there. Let's translate that into, do I actually have to defend this ground? Why? Often it can come from trying to prove something, needing to prove something, needing for who, for what. That's the freedom. If we truly know ourselves, then we don't need to prove anything to anyone. That is the mature sovereignty. Then we do not get caught up. Let's circle back a bit to like someone with their own version of reality. They meet me, we can have a talk. I don't need to prove to them my reality is better or whatever, or my beliefs are better, or that they are wrong or whatever. I don't have to do this. I could do this, but what are we moving from? If you are actually moving from a need to prove that you are the king, prove that you are the king of the jungle, prove that you are the lion, you're not moving in peace. This is often making you actually, or drawing you in conflict itself. And so I want to point to it, there are wiser decisions from true sovereignty, which really also require this maturing process within ourselves to recognize that I don't need to defend this ground. Our own security, finding this within. I don't need to defend my beliefs. I don't need to go to war over this. Just keep walking your own path. And this is then also what I would say, walking the straight walk can often mean you just walking around those obstacles. Maybe I want to give some more examples that I also encountered today on my walk. It's like I'm just walking in my own energy, walking my own life. I'm living my own life. I'm being my own being, while still I'm open and connected with the whole world, the whole universe, the unity of it all. And I'm recognizing everyone is living their life, let's say, having their experience. But also, a lot in my own process had to recognize I am also free to walk and choose my own path. Just like a wolf who is able to walk alone and choose their own path and is able to actually manage on his own, make those decisions yourself, instead of letting myself be dominated by my environment, by other people, by their own beliefs, and then changing my way through that. So just some other examples how we are actually when we are in our energy. Also, I want to point out this energy, something we also have to mature in. We do not have to dominate our environment. You just have to stay peaceful within your own energy and not get dominated by the external people or environments. But it's a different energy when we are actually needing, also like again that need. Why do we need to dominate? You need to prove your power to someone outside of yourself. Then you have not fully integrated this within yourself. When we actually have the way you move in some way proves it without needing to prove. And the thing is, then we are actually truly able to walk peacefully, even though at the same time I also recognize from the environment or the other people's perspective, they don't always experience this as peaceful within themselves. Just take this example, like they have these expectations that you run along with their script in their head, and then you just don't do it, and then they may project like, what's wrong with you, why are you so evil, why are you just not doing this? But it's like, I'm peaceful, I can even laugh with this, and I can just keep walking my way. Clear example also, what happened today on my walk. I'm just walking with my dog, and then there is this other person who is walking his dog, and he sees us, and I see him. I can just pass him. He's walking towards us, so we're walking towards each other. Like, for me, this is no problem. I know, because we both have these kind of huskies. Our dogs are going to get a bit wild, but for me, that's not a problem. I know my power. I can hold my dog. I can pass him, maybe go aside a bit, because again, I'm still respecting there is this other being. It's a different energy from like, I'm walking my way, get out of my way. No, that's not what I'm. Then you're at war with your reality. You're trying to dominate it. No, let's always stay in respecting each other, the human in each other, the essence and God in everyone. Also wanted to get at some point maybe to like, let's certainly not fall into dehumanizing someone else because they have different beliefs. This is a setup for savagery, and like, no. Have that strong value within ourselves to always recognize we're all humans here, all having an experience, and give each other the freedom of that. But again, this example, I want to finish that and maybe finish the video then. Like, okay, I'm free, I'm just observing what reality. I'm willing, I don't see a problem within my reality. I'll just grab my dog close to me, I'll just walk past. Nothing bad is going to happen. He won't bite him, I won't let him. But he seemed to not want that sort of intensity, and he's free to do that, so he went the other way. But again, maybe let's look at, in this way, me staying in my power, me just walking and being peaceful, and like, then other people may actually change their way because you are not playing along with their. Maybe you could have been projecting like, oh no, this guy here, oh, with this dog, oh, annoying, please get away from me. And it's like, no, I don't see the problem, I don't have to do that, we can pass. I'm not letting him and his discomfort, his inconvenience dominate where also recognize I do have the compassion. I do feel he's at discomfort in this situation. So I'm finding that middle ground of like, will take my dog close to me. I'm also showing him that, like, here, come with me, and taking him close. I'm acknowledging, I see your discomfort, but staying true, respecting my own self as I'm also moving through that and also finding my own way through life. Maybe one short other example that also happened today. Later on during the walk, there was suddenly this guy with his dog, and he was walking a bit in front of me, and my dog also like wanted to get closer to that dog, and his dog some often like stopped a bit, wanting to, the dogs want to connect. So, but I could sense and feel, this guy is a bit a discomfort because I'm walking pretty close behind him. But then again, I recognize a younger version of me would have, because of his discomfort, I might have slowed down or maybe taken another way because of his discomfort. But now I feel like, no, actually, I want to walk this way today, so I'm going to walk there. I am going to stay at some kind of, like, I'm not gonna let my dog bite your ass. I may pass you, like what actually happened is he, in his discomfort, because he wanted to escape that, I guess, he decided I will go to the side and let you pass. Fine by me. But again, this was maybe more about my own pacing and reflecting back on myself. Earlier in my life, I often let myself slow down in my own life because my environment was not comfortable with how fast I was moving through life and things like that. And so it's in some way, well, let's just point out how when we let ourselves be influenced so much by our environment, we may actually be walking a different way. And the way we walk, as in which way, but also how we walk it or how fast we walk it, it all shapes the whole creation. So from that, also from that essence, what do we truly want to create? Be aligned with that, and then walk our way. Find also that middle ground while still respecting the whole as it is. It allows us to move through a peaceful way, and then we're actually over time bringing that creation to fruition and actually also ordering the whole much more through also our own being and not letting ourselves move out of that being because someone says we have to. I feel that is the essence of this message. So I'm gonna leave it here for today. Have a good one.